wiped the grease from his hands and looked out the small window of the maintenance shaft. The gas giant below swirled with orange and red storms, each one bigger than Earth itself. He had been staring at that planet for 2 years now. It never changed. Neither did his life. He was a maintenance technician on the diplomatic station. It was not a glamorous job. He fixed broken pipes. He replaced burnt circuits. He crawled through dark tunnels that smelled like metal and alien chemicals. They paid him well enough, but they never looked at him. To them, he was invisible. Humans were new to the galaxy. Only 50 years ago, the first ship had arrived in Earth's solar system. They had studied humans like scientists study insects. Short lives, fragile bodies, no natural weapons, no telepathy, no special abilities. They had concluded that humans were harmless and mostly useless. They allowed a few humans to work in their empire, but only for simple jobs: cleaning, cooking, fixing things. Was one of 12 humans on the entire station. He knew all of them by name, worked as an assistant to the human ambassador. She was his only real friend here. The others kept to themselves, too tired or too scared to make connections. Today was different from other days. A big diplomatic summit was happening. Ships from 7 different species had arrived. The station was full of noise and movement. Nobles walked through the corridors in their expensive robes. Guards stood at every corner with weapons that could turn a human into dust. Stayed out of the way. That was the thing a human could do. He was fixing a water recycler in a maintenance corridor when he heard footsteps. They were soft and light, not like the heavy boots of guards. He looked up and froze. Princess stood at the end of the corridor. She was the 3rd daughter of Emperor, one of the most powerful beings in 3 star systems. Her skin was silver and seemed to glow from inside. She had 4 arms like all, and her eyes were deep purple, like the color of space itself. She wore a simple white dress that probably cost more than everything had ever owned. He quickly looked down and pressed himself against the wall. Humans did not make eye contact with royalty. Humans did not speak unless spoken to. These were the rules. But Princess stopped walking. "You are human," she said. Her voice was like music, soft and curious. His heart beat faster. "Yes, Your Highness." "I have never spoken to a human before." She tilted her head, studying him. "You are smaller than I expected." "We are a small species, Your Highness." She smiled. It was a strange smile, as if she found something about him amusing. "What is your name?" "Your Highness." She repeated, testing the word. "What do you do on this station?" "I fix things, Your Highness. Pipes, machines, whatever breaks." "That sounds important." Almost laughed. No one had ever called his job important. "It is just simple work, Your Highness." "Simple work keeps the station running," she said. "Without you, we would all be floating in the cold dark." She paused. "I think that makes you very important." Before could respond, a guard appeared at the end of the corridor. He was tall and covered in armor, and he looked at like he was a bug. "Your Highness, the summit is beginning. You must come now." Princess nodded. She looked at one more time. "It was nice to meet you. Perhaps we will talk again." Then she was gone, her silver form disappearing around the corner. Stood alone in the corridor. His hands were shaking. A princess had spoken to him. A princess had learned his name. A princess had called him important. He shook his head. It meant nothing. She was being polite. Royalty were trained to be graceful with everyone, even the lowest workers. Tomorrow she would forget he existed. He went back to work. That night sat within the small human quarters. They ate simple food and drank weak tea. Was talking about the summit, about the politics and the power games, but was not listening. "You are thinking about something," said. "What happened today?" "Nothing important." "Liar, tell me." Sighed. "I met Princess." His eyes went wide. "The princess? How? Where?" "In a maintenance corridor. She was lost, I think. She talked to me." "What did she say?" "She said my job was important." Laughed, a princess said that to you. Maybe she hit her head. Maybe, agreed. But he could not stop thinking about her purple eyes and her kind smile. Far away on the other side of the station, a small ship docked at a private port. The port was hidden from sensors, paid for with illegal money. The ship's pilot was a thin creature with gray skin and no eyes. He carried a weapon that could kill anything in the galaxy. He had been paid a fortune to come here. His target was Princess, third daughter of the Emperor. By tomorrow, she would be dead. The assassin smiled in the darkness. This would be easy. Security was focused on the summit. No one was watching the shadows. He did not know that a simple human maintenance worker would change everything. He did not know that would soon become the most famous human in the galaxy. But that story would begin tomorrow, in blood and fire and impossible survival. For now slept peacefully, dreaming of purple eyes and kind words. He had no idea what was coming. The grand atrium was the most beautiful place had ever seen. The ceiling was made of glass, showing the stars and the great gas giant below. Thousands of lights floated in the air like tiny suns. The floor was white marble, so clean that could see his reflection in it. He was not supposed to be looking at any of this. He was supposed to be working. Hung from a scaffolding high above the crowd, fixing a broken lighting array. Below him, hundreds of nobles from 7 different species gathered for the opening ceremony of the summit. They wore expensive clothes and carried themselves with pride. Guards stood along the walls, weapons ready. And in the center of it all stood Princess. She was even more beautiful today. Her silver skin glowed under the lights. Her white dress flowed like water. She stood beside her father's holographic image, representing the Emperor at this important event. Tried to focus on his work. He was just a maintenance worker. He had no business watching princesses, but his eyes kept returning to her. The ceremony began. A speaker talked about peace between species. Another speaker talked about trade agreements. Did not understand most of it. Politics was not his world. Then he saw something strange. In the crowd below there was a shimmer. It was small, almost invisible, like heat rising from hot ground. Most people would not notice it, but had spent 2 years crawling through dark tunnels, learning to see in shadows. His eyes were sharp. The shimmer moved through the crowd. It moved toward the princess. His heart began to beat faster. Something was wrong. He looked more carefully and saw it clearly now. There was a figure in the crowd that did not belong. It was using some kind of cloaking technology, bending light around itself. But the technology was not perfect. There was a shimmer. The figure raised something, a weapon. Time seemed to slow down. Did not think. He did not plan. His body moved before his mind could catch up. He let go of the scaffolding and jumped. He fell through the air, 20 meters down, straight toward the shimmer. The weapon fired. A bolt of white-hot plasma shot toward Princess. It was fast, faster than any bullet, bright as a small sun. It would hit her in half a second. It would burn through her body and kill her instantly. His body slammed into the path of the plasma bolt. The impact was like nothing he had ever felt. It was pain beyond pain. The plasma hit his chest and burned through his clothes, through his skin, through his flesh. He felt his heart stop. He felt his bones crack. He felt his lungs fill with fire. And then he felt nothing at all. He crashed onto the marble floor. His body was smoking. His chest was a ruin of burned meat and exposed bone. His eyes were open, but they saw nothing. The grand atrium fell silent. For a long moment, no one moved. Then chaos erupted. Guards rushed forward and grabbed the assassin, whose cloaking device had failed. Nobles screamed and ran. Medical teams pushed through the crowd. But Princess did not run. She stood frozen, staring at the human body on the ground. This creature, this small and fragile creature, had thrown himself in front of death for her. She did not even know his name. Wait. She did know his name. As she whispered, she ran to him and fell to her knees beside his body. The floor was hot from the plasma. His blood was spreading across the white marble like red paint. "He is dead," a guard said. "Your Highness, please step back. It is not safe." "He saved me," said. Her voice was shaking. "He saved my life." A medical officer scanned the body and shook his head. "Complete cardiac arrest. Massive tissue damage. Brain function has ceased. The human is dead, Your Highness. There is nothing we can do." Stared its face. It looked peaceful, almost like he was sleeping. She remembered his shy smile in the maintenance corridor. She remembered how he had called his job simple work. She remembered how surprised he had been when she called him important. He had been important, more important than he ever knew. "I am sorry," she whispered to his body. "I am so sorry." Then opened his eyes. Screamed and fell backward. The guards raised their weapons. The medical officers dropped their equipment. Sat up. His chest was healing. The burned flesh was closing. The exposed bone was covering itself with new muscle and new skin. It happened fast, faster than anything they had ever seen. In 30 seconds his wound was gone. Only smooth skin remained. Looked down at his chest. He looked up at the crowd. He looked at Princess, who was staring at him with wide purple eyes. "What?" he said, his voice rough and confused. "What just happened?" No one answered. The entire alien court stood in silence, watching the human who had just risen from the dead. In that moment, everything changed. The galaxy had thought humans were weak and fragile. The galaxy had thought humans were nothing special. The galaxy was wrong. And simple maintenance worker was about to become the most important human in the history of his species. He just did not know it yet. The Imperial Medical Wing was cold and white. Strange machines surrounded its bed, scanning his body with blue light. Alien doctors moved around him like ghosts, speaking in languages he did not understand. They looked scared. Did not blame them, he was scared too. 3 hours had passed since he died in the Grand Atrium. 3 hours since he came back to life. The doctors had run hundreds of tests. They had taken his blood, scanned his brain, studied every part of his body, and they still had no answers. The door opened and an old walked in. He was tall and thin, with silver skin that had faded to gray with age. His eyes were sharp and intelligent. Behind him came Princess. "I am High Physician," the old said. "I am the greatest medical mind in the Empire, and I must tell you, human, that what happened to you should be impossible." "I do not understand it either," said quietly. Held up a small device that showed images of his body. "The plasma bolt burned through your chest. It destroyed your heart, your lungs, and part of your spine. You were dead for 37 seconds. Then your body began to repair itself. New cells grew at a speed we have never seen. Your heart rebuilt itself. Your lungs healed. You came back to life." How asked. "That is what I am trying to understand." Paused. "Tell me about your home planet, human. Tell me about Earth." Blinked. "What does Earth have to do with this?" "Everything, I think." Sat down slowly. "When the first studied humans, we thought you were simple creatures, short lives, weak bodies, no special abilities, but we made a mistake. We studied you in safe conditions. We never saw what happens when you face death." Princess moved closer. "What are you saying, High Physician?" Looked at with something like respect. "I am saying that Earth is what we call a death world. Your planet is full of dangers, predators that hunt, diseases that kill, extreme temperatures, poisonous plants, natural disasters. Compared to most worlds in the galaxy, Earth is a nightmare." "I never thought of it that way," said. "You would not. It is normal to you." Leaned forward. "Humans evolved on this death world for millions of years. Your bodies learned to survive. They adapted. And I believe that somewhere deep in your cells there is a survival mechanism. It stays hidden during normal life. But when you face death, when your body is truly destroyed, it activates. You are saying my body fixed itself because I am human. I am saying your body refused to die because it has never known how to give up, shook his head slowly. We thought humans were the weakest species in the galaxy. We were completely wrong. You may be the hardest to kill. The door opened again. This time, armed guards entered first. Behind them came a holographic image of Emperor himself. The Emperor was old and powerful. His silver skin was covered with ancient symbols of authority. His 4 arms were crossed, and his expression was unreadable. "Bring the human to the throne hall," the Emperor said. "The court will see him." Was given simple clothes to replace his burned ones. Guards walked on either side of him. Princess walked behind, her face worried. The throne hall was even larger than the grand atrium. Thousands of nobles filled the room, standing in perfect rows. They all stared at as he walked toward the great throne where the Emperor's hologram sat. Had never felt so small in his life. "Human," the Emperor said, his voice echoed through the hall. "You saved my daughter's life, then you rose from the dead. Explain this." "I cannot explain it, Your Majesty," kept his eyes down. "I did not know this would happen. I only knew I could not let the princess die." "Why, you did not know her. You owed her nothing." Thought about the question. "She was kind to me," he said simply. "In the corridor she spoke to me like I was a person. No one else on this station ever did that. So when I saw the weapon I did not think. I just moved." The hall was silent. The Emperor studied for a long moment. Then Princess stepped forward. "Father," she said, "this human gave his life for mine. Under our oldest laws I owe him a life debt. I formally declare it before the court." Gasps filled the hall. Nobles whispered to each other in shock. A life debt was the most sacred bond in culture. It meant the princess was now connected too. She owed him her protection and her loyalty. It could not be broken. "Daughter," the Emperor said slowly, "you would bind yourself to a human." "He died for me, Father. How can I do less?" The Emperor was silent for a long time. Finally, he nodded. "The life debt is witnessed. The human is now under the protection of the royal family." In the shadows at the back of the hall, Lord watched with cold eyes. He had paid a fortune for that assassin. The princess was supposed to die. His political plans were ruined. But there was still a chance to fix this. The human had to be eliminated, quickly and quietly. Smiled and began to plan. 3 days after the ceremony, someone tried to poison. He was eating breakfast in his new quarters near the royal wing. The food tasted strange, but he thought it was just alien cooking. 10 minutes later, his throat closed up and his heart began to stop. He died on the floor of his room. 15 minutes later, he woke up again. His body had identified the poison and created something to fight it. He coughed up black liquid and lay on the floor, breathing hard. "This is becoming a habit," he said to the empty room. 2 days after the poison, someone cut the oxygen to his quarters while he slept. He died again. This time, his body learned to survive on less oxygen. He woke up with a headache but alive. 4 days after that, an assassin with a knife attacked him in a dark corridor. The knife went through his heart. He died. The assassin stood over his body, waiting to confirm the kill, then grabbed the assassin's leg and pulled him down. They fought on the floor until guards arrived. Visited him in the medical wing after each attack. She looked more worried each time. "You need to leave this station," she said. "Someone wants you dead, very badly." I noticed, touched his chest where the knife wound had already healed. "But I cannot leave. The princess declared a life debt. If I run, it shames her. If you stay, you will die. I have died 3 times already. It does not seem to work." Did not laugh. "This is not a joke. Each time you die, you come back different. I can see it in your eyes. You are changing." She was right, could feel it. His senses were sharper now. He could hear conversations from far away. He could see in darkness. His muscles were stronger even though he had not exercised. Each death changed his body, made it better, more adapted to survival. But was he still human? That night, Princess came to his quarters. She brought food that she had cooked herself to make sure it was not poisoned. They sat together by the window, looking at the stars. "I am sorry," said. "This is my fault. If I had not declared the life debt, you would be safe." "If you had not declared it, I would be in a prison cell," said. "The nobles would have demanded my death for touching you in the atrium. You saved me, Princess." "You saved me first." They were quiet for a moment, then asked, "Does it hurt dying?" "Thought about it? Yes, every time, but the pain does not last. When I wake up, I forget most of it, like a bad dream." "Are you afraid?" "I used to be. Now I am just tired." He looked at his hands. "I do not know what I am becoming. High Physician says my body is evolving, adapting to each threat. But what happens when I run out of humanity? What happens when there is nothing left of the old me?" Reached out with one of her hands and touched his. Her silver skin was cool against his warmth. "I think," she said softly, "that what makes you human is not your body, it is your heart, and your heart is still kind." Before could respond, his door burst open. A woman walked in, wearing dark clothes and carrying no visible weapons, but her eyes were dangerous. "My name is Shin," she said. "I am a human intelligence operative, and we need to talk." Explained everything quickly. Human governments had known about the dormant survival abilities for decades. They had kept it secret because they were afraid. If the galaxy learned that humans could survive almost anything, humans would become targets. Every empire would want to study them, control them, use them as weapons. "You were never supposed to activate," said. "But you did. Now you are the most famous human in the galaxy. Everyone knows what you can do. There is no hiding anymore." "What do you want from me?" asked. "Nothing. I am here to help you survive." Pulled out a data device. "I have been investigating the attacks on your life. They all lead back to one person, Lord." Recognized the name. He was a powerful noble, one of the Emperor's advisors. "Why would he want me dead?" "Because he is the one who hired the assassin to kill Princess. Her death would have helped his political plans. You ruined everything when you saved her. Now he needs to destroy you before you become too powerful to touch." His eyes went cold. "Lord tried to kill me." "Yes, Princess, and he will keep trying until your human protector is dead." Stood up slowly. His body felt different now, stronger, more alive than ever before. Each death had made him harder to kill. Each attack had made him more dangerous. "Then I will stop him," said. "You cannot accuse a noble without proof," said. "And even with proof you cannot touch him. He is too powerful." "There is one way." Princess stood beside. "The trial of accusation. If challenges directly and survives the trial, is guilty by ancient law." "The trial of accusation is ritual combat," said. "We'll choose a champion to fight for him. He will choose something that cannot be defeated." Looked at the princess, then at his own hands. "I have died 4 times," he said quietly. "Let them send whatever they want. I will just keep getting up." Outside the window, the stars burned cold and bright. The hunt was about to end. But not the way Lord expected. The arena of truth was ancient. It had been built 1,000 years ago, carved from black stone and decorated with the bones of fallen warriors. Today, every seat was filled. Nobles, diplomats, and citizens from across the empire had come to watch. They had come to see a human die. Stood alone in the center of the arena. He wore simple clothes. He carried no weapons. Across from him, the gates were still closed, hiding whatever monster Lord had chosen as his champion. In the royal box, Princess watched with fear in her purple eyes. Beside her sat her father's hologram, silent and unreadable. Lord sat nearby, smiling with confidence. "The rules are simple," the announcer called out. The accuser must survive against the champion. If the accuser lives until the champion can no longer fight, the accused is guilty. If the accuser dies, the accused is innocent. The gates opened. The creature that walked out was a warrior, 8 feet tall, 4 arms, each one thick with muscle, skin like gray armor, eyes like black holes. They were the most feared fighters in the galaxy. They were bred for one purpose, killing. The crowd gasped. Some laughed. A human against this would not be a fight, it would be an execution. Looked at, neither moved. Begin, the announcer shouted. The charged. It moved faster than anything that size should move. One massive fist slammed into his chest and sent him flying across the arena. He hit the wall with a crack and fell to the ground. His ribs were broken, his lung was punctured, blood filled his mouth. They walked toward him slowly, enjoying the moment. The crowd cheered. Stood up. They paused. Something was wrong. The human should not be standing. The human should be dying. His ribs were already healing. His lung was repairing itself. He spat out blood and looked at them with calm eyes. Is that all you have? He asked. They roared and attacked again. This time it grabbed with all 4 arms and squeezed. Bones broke like dry wood, screamed as his spine cracked. They threw him against the ground and stomped on his chest. Died. The crowd fell silent. Lord smiled. Princess covered her mouth with her hands. Then opened his eyes. He grabbed this foot and twisted. The giant stumbled backward, rolled to his feet, his body healing as he moved. His spine straightened, his bones connected. He stood tall and faced the again. I am not finished, he said. The fight lasted an hour. They broke every bone in his body. It tore his muscles. It crushed his organs. It killed him 7 times in that arena in front of the entire empire. And 7 times stood back up. Each time he rose, he was different. His body was learning, adapting, evolving. His movements became faster. His reactions became sharper. He began to dodge attacks that had hit him before. He began to block strikes that had broken him before. He was getting tired. Its attacks became slower. Its breathing became heavy. It had never fought anything like this. It had killed thousands of enemies, but none of them had ever stood back up. What are you? They gasped. Smiled. His face was covered in dried blood, but his eyes were clear. I am human, he said, and humans do not stay dead. He did not attack he did not need to. He simply stood there, waiting, refusing to die, refusing to give up. They attacked again and again, but each attack was weaker than the last. Finally, the great warrior fell to its knees. Its arms dropped to its sides. It could not lift them anymore. I cannot continue, they said. The human wins. The arena exploded with noise. Some cheered. Some screamed in anger. Lord jumped to his feet, his face white with fear. This is impossible, he shouted. The human cheated, this is not valid. Emperor's hologram stood. The arena fell silent. Lord, the Emperor said, his voice cold as space, the trial of accusation is complete. The human survived. By ancient law, you are guilty of attempted murder against my daughter. Guards moved toward. He tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. They grabbed him and dragged him away, screaming about injustice and lies. The Emperor looked at, who stood alone in the center of the arena, surrounded by his own blood. Human, the Emperor said, we called your species weak, we called you fragile. We looked at your short lives and your soft bodies and we thought you were nothing special. He paused. We were wrong. You are something far more terrifying. You are persistent. You do not give up. You do not stay down, and that perhaps is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Princess ran down from the royal box. She pushed through guards and doctors and threw her arms around. He held her back, his healing body warm against her silver skin. You did it, she whispered. You survived. I had something to survive for, he said. The crowd watched as the alien princess held the human warrior. It was a sight that would change the galaxy. Humans were no longer invisible. Humans were no longer overlooked. They were something new, something powerful, something that could not be ignored. Later that night, stood by a window looking at the stars. Stood beside him, her hand in his. "What will you do now?" she asked. Thought about the question. He thought about his small life on Earth. He thought about his simple job on the station. He thought about all the times he had been ignored, dismissed, forgotten. Those days were over. "I think," he said slowly, "I will stay here, with you, and we will show the galaxy what humans can really do." Smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. The galaxy had measured humans by their short lives and soft bodies. They had never thought to measure them by their refusal to stay dead. Looked at the stars and smiled. He was just getting started.